Welcome to Arise with Christ. We share stories and truths related to the temple. Together with you, our hope is to fortify faith in Jesus Christ and experience joy in covenant keeping.
I'm Carolee Bailey, and I'm here with Angelique Plojek. Our guest for this episode is Linda Winegar. Linda received a letter from her husband disclosing his struggle with pornography. They decided he would participate in the church's 12-step program for addiction recovery. She felt at that time like the situation was managed and everything was going to be okay for their family. 5 years later, she discovered pornography on his phone. This discovery was made while the two of them were in the car going to an embryo transfer appointment for IVF. In the Book of Mormon, we read about Captain Moroni helping his people to prepare for battle with the Lamanites, and to prepare in a manner which never had been known. This example from the Book of Mormon became an inspiration for Linda and Clark in their battle against pornography.
Carolee, I'm so excited to share this episode with our listeners. Linda teaches us about her experience with betrayal trauma following Clark's disclosure of his addiction. It's powerful and enlightening, and I'm just so grateful for people like them who are willing to share and be so open with such a vulnerable topic.
It's beautiful to see how this family, who has been through some really devastating experiences, has been able to turn to the Savior and be healed through him. Linda is full of light and energy, and she is a ball of enthusiasm and fun, just fun to be around. Despite the heaviness of this topic and the difficulty in addressing it, we think you will find this episode incredibly uplifting and enjoyable as well.
Linda Winegar refers to herself as a warrior mother, warrior wife, and warrior sister. She is primarily passionate about arming women with their God-given gifts who, like herself, have experienced trauma from betrayal. Linda believes our gifts are the weapons we have been given to take control and fight back against evil to accelerate healing. Linda's experiences opened her eyes to the adversary's tactics to destroy individuals and families. Linda finds that acknowledging those tactics strengthens her ability to live confidently within her covenants through the power of Jesus Christ. Linda and her husband Clark created the Clark and Linda Show, in which they share their journey and path to healing. Linda also hosts Warrior with Linda Winegar, a podcast geared toward women who have experienced betrayal.
Linda, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Well, you are a skilled and experienced podcaster, so we feel like it's an honor to have you with us.
Oh yeah, but you guys are the more organized sisters around here.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I love how you describe yourself as a warrior in many different ways. Will you just talk about that for a minute and why you describe yourself with that term?
Yeah. So I feel like it kind of comes from just knowing who we are and that we have like this battle that we're fighting against Satan. And I think it has been strengthened even with like the temple, and our temple attendance and doing different things there and noticing the way that they, make certain references to people's characters there or I guess spirits' characters there. And so it just feels like there's like a battle there. But then also I love superheroes and, I wish that I was like more like take karate or, I wish I was actual like in that kind of mode where I could like do self-defense or something like that. But it's more of a spiritual warrior that I see myself as. And, with being a mother, you protect your children. And I love the different talks that talk about how we can shield our families. And, the term guardian, even at school, when they say like, instead of using the word parent, because they don't want to offend certain people, they use the word guardian. And I love that. I'm like, oh, awesome. Because, it just kind of further emphasizes that we're in this battle to protect those who we love. And so, yeah, like everything to me is this battle between good and evil. And the scriptures definitely help us understand that as well.
It's such an empowering visual,
right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yes, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And in your life, I see you fighting that battle on multiple fronts. So for our listeners, will you just talk a little bit about that? Some of the things that you do and different hobbies and businesses and things that you're involved with?
Sure. Okay. So I'll preface that first with when Carolee reached out and was like, hey, Angeli and I do this podcast. I was so excited. I was like, this is awesome. And you asked me to be on it. And I was like, yes, I want to testify of Jesus Christ anytime I can, right? That's part of who I am. And then immediately Satan's attacks were on me. And I'm sure that this is not an easy task for you sisters either. And I'm sure you struggle with tons of different things that happen on the days that you record, right? And so, I was getting all kinds of like, I'm not as good as Lindsay, who is the previous person on the podcast. And I'm definitely not as strong as Lindsay. Did you see that picture you guys posted? And
no one is, I think.
I know, right? And I was just like, oh, she's so eloquent. She can do all these things. And then immediately it's like, what can I do? And I was like thinking of ways that I could talk myself out of doing this interview. And I was like, that's the complete opposite of what we want here, Linda, and it's that battle is a constant thing. And I'm sure other, people who are podcasting or making videos of anything having to do with Jesus Christ, they have that same struggle. And I wanted to make sure that for future people who are on this podcast, if you feel like saying no to them, do not. But just know that it's a normal feeling. It's an attack of the adversary. And he's just going to try and get us to think that we're not good enough. We're not whatever enough.
Yes.
And that we just need to feel small and we won't want to share our testimony about Jesus Christ. And that's another reason why I'm like, this is a fight. This is a battle because that's what I had to go through. So anyways, I wanted to say that first because I wanted to acknowledge the fact that it's always a thing with me. Sometimes I'm like, Satan attacking anybody else around here? I feel like it's just me. Like, why? And I'm late to everything. And so anyway, some of the things that something I believe is that God has given us our gifts as weapons to use against the adversary. And if we can use our gifts to serve others, then we are going to be able to crush Satan in a way that is only unique to us. And King Benjamin taught that if we are in the service of our fellow beings, we are in the service of God. And Satan hates that. He doesn't want us to serve God. And so anytime we're serving anyone in any capacity, then he's going to try to keep us from that. And so my husband and I have a podcast that we share our struggle with our family being affected by pornography. And that's on our Clark and Linda podcast. And so it's like Clark and Linda Show or clarkandlinda.com. You can find it there. And that was like the eye-opening thing for me, where in order for us to get out of that, we needed to share in a different way that we had never tackled this before, because it had been something that we struggled with before then. It was something that we needed to do. But then because of that, I was like, well, I need to use my gifts even more now because I have this battle that I'm fighting. And so whenever I use any of my gifts, it feels really empowering, and it feels like I'm able to serve. And then Satan is kind of just out of there because Christ helps me to serve. And whenever I reach up, he's going to be there. And anytime we do anything hard, it's like you have to get that extra help from him. And so the temple is like the number one place where I get help to do anything. And whether I'm starting a business, whether I'm just going about my day, whether I need help with my kids, I go to the temple and I am endowed with that extra power that I need. And I've actually seen both of you in the temple. And so that's actually really special to me. So thank you for your faithfulness that allows others to see your light and that you can shine that light to us and it helps us, because we're not alone.
I think that's so powerful that you are willing to share your journey to help other people feel that they are not alone. And how much Heavenly Father loves that you're doing that. I can just feel as you're talking about that, how meaningful that is and how much He loves that you're using those gifts for so much good. So I'm so grateful for you in that example. And you mentioned the impact of pornography on your family. Will you share with us? I know this is something that you've been very open about and willing to share, which is just so amazing and beautiful. Will you share with us what that journey has looked like for your family?
Yeah, thanks. And it's one of those things that you don't realize at the beginning, you think everything's fine, everything's going fine. And Carolee, you shared about your struggle with infertility, and we struggle with infertility as well. And Lindsay also in previous episode, she went through infertility. So that was like the struggle that we've had pretty much our whole marriage, because we tried to get pregnant way back in the day when we were first married, and it just wasn't working out the way that we hoped, to have the kids that you want and all the things. And it wasn't until, so our first one, we didn't need extra help, if you will, right? But he took like 7 years to get here. And then we realized for sure we need help with our second. And so our second child, we did 4 IUIs, and that's how we got him. And then after that, we did 2 rounds of IVF, which ended in miscarriage. And it was really devastating. But the last round of the IVF was our last D-Day or discovery day, is what we call it, right? When we have discovered that our husbands have been betraying us. And that's when I discovered stuff on his phone. And it was so sad because we were on our way to the infertility doctor. And we were basically, the doctor was telling me at the appointment, and it was like so devastating. Like I was like in tears in the car, and we're on our way. And it's just like, nobody's going to know what's happening because I can't tell anybody. I don't even, like, trying to wrap your brain around it is like.
Did your husband know that you knew?
Oh, he knew. Like I was
okay,
yelling at him from the phone, like right in the passenger seat, and I'm like, what is this? And it was just not a good time. So we get to the infertility doctor, and of course I'm crying, and they think I'm crying because this is an emotional time. So I'm like, I guess it was a good disguise. But nobody knew. Anyway, the doctor said that my body was in perfect condition. You have to have your body in a certain level with hormone levels and health and everything. He said my body was in perfect condition to be able to receive this in vitro transfer. And all I could think about was, I don't want another child with this man. You know what I mean? It was just that bad. And the fact that the doctor told me that my body was perfect, I was like, really? That was like kind of good news on a day that was like the worst news. And I did feel like my body was really good. I mean, strong and working out and all these things and eating better and all, but I feel like garbage, and there's no way that this is going to work. And it's too late. Once you're there, you're on the way. Like they're going to do the transfer, because if you don't, then you waste all that money and you waste a valuable embryo that's ready to go. So I'm like, I can't. Yeah. Anyway.
So you're feeling like you have a broken heart.
Oh yeah.
And you're moving forward with this despite that broken heart.
Yeah.
Devastation that you're feeling.
Yeah. It was so insane. And I still don't know how to describe that feeling.
So complex.
So many things, so many emotions.
So Linda, was that the first time you had discovered?
No, that was actually the second time. The first time he told me in a letter, and that was 5 years before then, roughly. I'm like thinking that's about the time frame. And I didn't know what that meant. I was like, oh, I'm from Florida. People watch pornography there. Like, when they have a party, you walk in, it's on the TV. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time when he wrote me the note. I mean, I was experiencing betrayal trauma, but I didn't really think it was going to be like huge, right? Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll work through this and we'll, get better. And so when I saw that on his phone, I was like, wait, that means that 5 years ago, you have not gotten help and we're still in the same. So everything was just like, what is this? And so, it was just awful. And so needless to say, that IVF ended in miscarriage. If my spirit was broken, there was no way my body was going to help grow anything. And I already have autoimmune diseases that kill off, like my hormone doctor, he's like, by the way, just so you know, your body likes to kill itself. I'm like, great. This is the best news, you know? And so I already knew that that was happening. But when he said it was like good, I was like, oh, good. Maybe we have something, you know? But it was like, I didn't want it anymore. I was stuck in the middle between like, I really want to have this child, but I don't want to have this child. Then, of course, the Lord's always in charge. So he was like, you're not having this child. And I'm so grateful that I didn't, because I don't know what would have happened to our relationship had that happened. From that moment on, it was like my eyes were open. I feel like I didn't know how bad it could be, that pornography was so bad at the time. That was 5 years ago. Until that moment, I was like, it's a plague. They're right.
And you would be naive to the implications and the understanding of that type of addiction if you hadn't gone through an experience with it, I would think. Like,
well, and here's the thing. Actually, when I was a teenager, I did have an experience with pornography, and I knew. I kind of got into it because you're curious. And so I got into it a little bit, and then I was like, and then parties, they just have it on TV. So you're just like, okay. And then, after that, I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't be in that. So I think because I thought that the lapse of time that I had it was like maybe 6 months. I don't even know how to calculate the time, but it wasn't very long. And I couldn't even think it was an addiction in my mind. That when he told me that, I was like, oh, okay, this will be like gone so fast.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah, it's fine. You probably just got to go to like 5 meetings or something and then be good, And it was not that. So we decided that he needed to get more help than what he had gotten before. And that sadly, the church's program wasn't his remedy for the help that he needed. And so
that's what he had done the first time, that 5 years previously, he had gone through like the church's 12-step program.
Yeah.
Okay.
He went through the church's 12-step, and I went with him sometimes, and it's so powerful. The meetings are amazing. And so for sure, I was like, these meetings are amazing. He's totally going to get help and I don't have to worry. Right. But apparently he needed a different level of meeting. So he actually went to the Men of Moroni program with Life-Changing Services. It is amazing. And I love the way that Maurice Harker, he's the one who founded it. And he is so great at helping them realize that it's a fight that they have against Satan and that they're not Satan. So that was something that I needed to work on, was separating my husband from Satan and knowing like Satan's the one attacking my family. It is not my husband. And that really made the difference.
It's like that triangle of conflict. It's me and you versus the problem. It's not me versus you versus the problem.
Yeah.
It's me and you versus the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I like that. And so from there, it started getting a little bit better. Like he started getting the help that he needed. And I should tell you, I started going to the temple every Tuesday since 2008. And if I ever was going to go away on vacation or something, I'd go one day extra the day before so that it would make up for that. Right. And I mean, I was going to the temple the day before I'd have a baby. It was like I was still there.
What inspired you to do that?
My grandmother actually loves the temple. She would talk about the temple all the time. And so it wasn't like a new concept for me, but I think it was a talk that said something about claim your blessings. I want to say it was a sister leader who gave the talk. And maybe that talk came after, who knows? But I just know that I was not getting pregnant, right? And I was like, are there any blessings that I'm missing out on? And I know that the Lord wants to bless us because we're his children. And I felt like if I went to the temple, I would be able to have the Spirit with me more and would be able to know more of like what I needed to do in order to get pregnant. And so that's what I started doing. I went to the temple, and it was in 2008, but then we got pregnant in 2008. And so then we had our first in 2009. And so I was like, yes, the temple, it's the best, But at the same time, some people might be like, oh, well, you were just going to the temple for your blessings, right? And I mean, it's like, yes, but then also no. Like, how do you come closer to Jesus Christ if you don't spend time with him,
Yeah.
So
for me, that makes me think that you were just exhibiting a lot of faith. And I know that Heavenly Father I don't know, reward doesn't feel like the right answer, the right word, but he honors our faith. I mean, faith is huge. It can work miracles in our life. So the fact that you had the faith to say, okay, I think this is the next step for me. This is what I need right now in my life. That just shows a lot of faith to me.
Yeah. And if I didn't get pregnant, I was like, at least I would have more strength to like deal with this ongoing, are we pregnant this month? Are we pregnant this month? And you have to track all the things, and it's annoying and so hard, So so that was the motivation to go to the temple a lot. And then I'll tell you that after the IVF, the last IVF, and it ended in miscarriage, I was like, that's crazy and I need more help. And, now with this betrayal trauma that I was experiencing, I'm like, I don't know what else to do, because I'm going to the temple every Tuesday. I'm reading my scriptures every day, and I journal every day. I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, why don't I feel better? Like I shouldn't feel so broken inside. And it was so hard when my husband was like, by the way, there's this group of sisters that are the wives of all these addicts that you should get together with them. And, if you have experienced betrayal trauma, you don't want anything from your husband. Like no tips, no conference talks about forgiveness, no, nothing. You literally do not want anything from that man. And bless Clark, he's so patient, and so like, it was just not good for him to recommend it. But I was researching it on my own, and I was like, maybe I should just call one time, because if the program's working for him, maybe they have a program that can work for me. And so I was able to reach out to their Worth program, which is magnificent. And it was the very first time I ever shared my story. And it was with sisters that had gone through the same thing. And I had no idea the power that sisterhood can have until that minute. And I was like so blown away. And I was like, the Savior knows what we want and what we need. And he will tell it to us through maybe not the most conventional ways. But if we soften our heart, then we will be able to receive what we need. And so through those sisters, it was where I was able to finally start feeling like I wasn't alone and there was hope, and not so much like a relationship lasting, because at that time, I didn't know for sure, like everybody was kind of at a similar level, and we weren't even sure if any of our relationships would last past a certain point. And so it was so fresh that you couldn't even say, oh, at least they're still together, and that's what I would like. So maybe I need to learn from her. But it was more just like, okay, she doesn't look like she's going crazy or dying. So I can at least learn from her and see what she's doing without necessarily having to worry about the outcome. And so that was super helpful to be able to finally get out of that stuck mode after you experience D-Day. But I think the temple gives us power to realize what else the Lord also has in store for us. Not just attending the temple is not going to just be it. He gives us the power to do the things we need to do outside the temple when we go. And that's what's so powerful. I think when we go to the temple, we're armed, right? With that power. And I love the warrior, when you're armed. We have that armor and that power that we can make decisions that will help us progress and continue that relationship with Jesus Christ, because we want that.
So I'm curious, it feels like hearing this, it took an incredible amount of strength even to get to that point.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever feel like the marriage is over? I'm done. How did you navigate that? And was that how you navigated it? I'm going to go to the temple and see where this leads me? Or what was your thought process there?
So that's a good question. Every day there were those thoughts, like all the time. I mean, probably more than I can count, right? Because that's where Satan wants to go with that. Because that's what he's all about, breaking up families. And I come from a family who was divorced. And so I know the implications that come from that. My parents got divorced when I was 16. Yeah, like I would have that battle all the time. It was like, I don't know if I'm staying and I don't know if I'm going, but I'm still here. And it's so true that we stay for the loved ones. So like our boys were, can't remember how old they were, but they were so little that I was like, well, I can't leave them because if I left them, who would care for them? He's their dad. And maybe if I made him take care of them, then he would have no time to be, busy doing bad things, that he would just be turned into a good dad. Who knows, and those were kind of some of those thoughts that I was getting. And it was like, we could do the half, or we could, and so divorce definitely was an available option for me. But I did feel like I was trapped because I didn't feel like I was making that choice for myself. I felt like it was like a have to. And when you feel trapped in a relationship, it intensifies the trauma because then it's something that's not in your control. And when you experience betrayal trauma, that's something that is out of your control. Like you can't control your husband, even though you want to control your husband so much. And so you have to realize all the things that are only in your control. And so I'm like, I can't even make that choice because then the children will suffer. And I remember our boys, they were so sweet. They were like, had no idea because we hadn't told them yet, but they were like, bless mom and dad that they will get better. And I was like, oh my gosh, they can sense that there is something wrong, And their prayers really helped me to put things into perspective. Like, I'm not making this choice by myself. I make a choice and it's going to include them. And I better make sure that I'm accounting for what's going to happen to them because I personally know what happened to me. And so there was this one time we went to the temple and my husband, he goes out of town for work and he's trained me to be able to do the same thing that he does for work. And so he knows that when there's an opportunity to travel, like I will take that opportunity. And so there was an opportunity to travel and he's like, teetering on whether to ask me or not. So he was like, I can bring you with me, or I can just hire a freelancer to come with me, or, whatever. And I was like, no, it'll be good. He's like, you could do some self-care. Cause he's like, he actually even said like that he wouldn't even necessarily need me, but that he thought that, it would be like, if I didn't want to work, he could handle the job of the two people, but that I could take that time for self-care and not have to worry about the day-to-day with the kids. And you just need that space. And I mean, as a mom, you need that space. But after betrayal trauma, now you're working with extra that you need additional. I feel like sometimes I need additional space because of that. And so it was so nice that he was considerate enough to say like, hey, you don't actually have to come work. And I was like, yeah, I don't actually want to work with you on something. Cause then I'm like right next to him. And so I did stay at the hotel and was able to like do the work that I needed to do and read my scriptures and do those things. But there was a temple and he knows that I take all the opportunities to go to the temple. And so he's like, well, do you want to go to the temple? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I want to go too. And so I was like, I don't know if we should go together. Anyway, it turns out we ended up, the only thing that was available in the temple to do that day was ceilings.
Of course.
Convenient. Wow. Yeah. And so if you're not of our faith, when you're doing ceilings, you sit or you kneel across an altar and you get to look at your spouse's face really up close. You could literally kiss them across the altar. That's like how close you get. And it was just one of those things where you couldn't avoid looking at them. I'm like looking at the sealer the whole time and trying, it's like so uncomfortable. This was the first time that we had gone to the temple together since D-Day. And so I was just like, I don't know, this is not good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was intense. And anyway, it was so amazing. I was just looking at him. And for the first time since then, the Lord had showed me that he is a child of God and that he's the same person that I chose to marry so many years ago, and that I could choose him again if I wanted, but I didn't have to. And the Lord released me from the have to. And I was finally able to know
that when the Lord told me that he was a child of God, he's saying, I'm not just telling you that so you have to forgive him and be nice to him. He's like, I'm telling you that for you. If he's a child of God, that means you're my child. And it was so fantastic. I was just like so emotionally overcome when I was there. I was like, I can't believe that this whole time I thought it was just because you wanted me to stay with him because poor guy, you know, but it wasn't. It was because he loves me and he wants me to see my husband that way, not because he wants me to try and forgive him and do all the things, but just so that I could finally see that I'm his child and that he loves me. And that no matter what I chose to do, whether I chose to stay with my husband or not, that the Lord still loved me and he would be there with me all the way through, divorce or not divorce or whatever. And in that moment is when I chose that I would choose my husband again. And I was like, I'll stay and we're going to work this out and we're going to try to make this happen. And if you know from our episodes, you'll know that I'm not shy to cry on camera or on audio recordings. But yeah, it was just so powerful, that eye-opening experience that the Lord was able to give me at the temple. And I was just like, it is so true, you know, that he just loves us. And I think sometimes we think that we have to do those things that he asks us to do for other people's benefits. Like, oh, I have to serve so-and-so because the Lord needs to tell them that they are loved, and I need to serve here, and I need to serve. And we forget that the only person he's really trying to get to is us. And that's what this whole experience has kind of led me to. It's just like, I'm a child of God and he loves me.
That's such a powerful thing that you learned. Thank you for sharing that beautiful experience from being in the temple and the way the Lord gave you that vision, almost that perspective, that eternal perspective. And I think that's so powerful. And what an important reminder that the Lord honors agency, and that you had the capacity to choose, and he would honor your choice. And it was your choice to make. That's really beautiful. I know you talked earlier about how you view our gifts as weapons almost in fighting Satan. What are some of the gifts that you have been able to see in yourself and use in that battle?
Oh, man. So I love to do design work, and I've been designing and selling my designs on Etsy. And I used to have a website called visitingteaching.net. And that was just something that I used to do where I would design free visiting teaching things. And that was my blog, and I would give free stuff. It's like what all the ladies in Utah have done, I guess. And you just design something and you put it on your blog for free and they download it. But I never had the courage to like actually sell any of it because I didn't ever think it was good enough because Satan, of course. And so, yeah, that's something that I decided I needed to start doing and selling on Etsy because I was like, well, I need to make money. And plus the visiting teaching site got hacked. And so I didn't know how to fix that. But I knew that was Satan just doing, and because he didn't like me blessing people's lives like that. So yeah, so I design stuff and I sell it on Etsy. Usually it's like Relief Society invitations and baptism. I started with baptism invitations and programs. And so those kinds of things I love to do for whoever asks. It's just so fun. But yeah, I get to sell that online. And then I have always wanted to have a print shop ever since I worked at a print shop when I was 19. And so I was like, oh, I need to own a print shop someday. And so finally opened a print shop. It's just something that I do from my home, but it's so neat to like be able to help people. And it's funny because people think that you have to give away your gifts in order to bless people's lives. But I can't tell you how many times, like, just I say that I'm open 24/7 because really, you know, I don't sleep that much. And I had to do it because I needed prints so many times late at night and I can't find anybody that's open.
They close at like 6 o'clock.
I know.
What?
I'm like, who has their life together enough to have their print ready to print
me.
at 6 p.m.? Yeah, no. And so I'm like, yeah, 24/7 over here. And
yeah, like so many of my friends are like, can you print this for me? And I mean, I've gotten random strangers that find me on Google, and they're like, can you print this for me? I know it's late. And I'm like, yep, I'll have it for you by tomorrow morning. And they pick it up at like 5 a.m. I know. And it's so neat. And I'm just like, I love to see that something that I love to do blesses somebody else. And
people are willing to pay you for it.
And that people are willing to pay me for it. Yeah. And it's just like an exchange of, what did I say? It's just an exchange of value, right? So like if you're valuing my time in doing this, so they're going to pay me to do something that they need, but I love to use my skills to be able to do that for them. And anytime someone has something, I know in our culture, sometimes we just want something for free, and I almost feel like it's better if I can pay them with something. I'm like, I have to give you something for what you just did for me because it's valuable.
We're so grateful.
Yeah. Either you can pay me cash or I'm going to give you like something, or, if it's not cash, I'm going to give you like cookies or a dinner, like something. Let me do something for you. So instead of having to always owe your friends, right? At least just collect just make fees for stuff and then just do it that way. But anyway, so those are some examples. Other examples are, I have like so many ideas, but one of them is I love to help the youth start businesses. That is just like, I think it's awesome. Our kids go to children's markets to try and do stuff. And so because I've tried to start so many businesses, I know the process and I like the beginning stages of starting a business. And so I'll help. I did like a class once where I helped, like 13 teenagers or kids, I guess not all of them were teens, figure out from point A, like what they like to do until point B, like what they can sell and figure out like how they can get there. Right. And it was so rewarding to be able to use something that I had gone through to help them. And so there's so many ways that we can bless people's lives, not just things that maybe we diminish because Satan thinks that we're not good enough to share some of our gifts. And I love to take women through this exercise as well, where like, some of the sisters that were in my original group for the betrayal trauma, the Worth group, we call it, they were very insecure about starting certain things or moving forward with trying to earn money or, things like that. And I could help them see like, okay, well, what do you like to do? And, if that's something that you like to do, you're skilled at it, and you have experience with it, you can take that to the next level and just giving that extra confidence boost of like, it's okay, you can try this, and then doing that. And helping them achieve like, hey, there's a logo or a website or, different things that they need to do to kind of get that extra confidence. And it's just like awesome to be able to see women using their skills and getting that validation at the end that it was worth that little bit of extra work to figure out like, hey, somebody does need that from me. And I don't even know them, but I can bless their life. So yeah, I love helping women do that.
Well, I think we need to hire you as a mentor for one thing.
I was thinking the same. Just a friend. It's fine.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love, Linda, how you talked about your frequency of attending the temple.
Oh, yeah.
Your Temple Tuesday. And you've been so consistent at that over such a long period of time. I have 2 questions about that. How has that blessed your life? And how do you find joy in your temple worship?
So I will say that during the COVID time was the hardest time for me. And I'll give you some context. So I've loved attending the temple. Like I get so much joy. I think it's kind of like when you work out. And I think it's linked together in that way for a reason. But when you work out, you love walking out of that gym. Like you own the place, right? And then you see other people walking in and you almost feel sorry for them because you're just like, I'm already done. I'm so glad I'm not just walking in. And so it's the same at the temple. You're just like so glad that you went and like, you're just so uplifted and you're so strengthened that you're just like, you feel like you can conquer the world. And you're just like, ask me anything, make me do anything. I'll say yes and I can do anything, right? And that is what brings me joy, like just that strength that we can get from the Lord when we spend that time with him in his house. And I want to add that you can do anything in the temple and you walk out with that same feeling. Like you don't have to do a full session. Sometimes those take a lot longer than you have a babysitter for. So I love to do initiatories. And at first I got so much temptations or whatever, or like Satan's whispers are just like always there. And so I would get whispers like, you are not doing enough in the temple, Linda, because you're not doing a full session, or you're not doing ceilings with your husband. You should be going to the temple with your husband. And so like, he just whispers all those things, right? You're doing the best already. You're like literally going to the temple every week, and he still finds something for you to like, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But then I was finally able to be like, no, I can go to the temple and do initiatories, and that's all I need. And I can go and walk into the celestial room right after that. And it's fantastic. So whatever you want to say. So I've probably done so many initiatories throughout this whole time. I no longer feel bad that that's mostly all that I do. And then I do take those opportunities to go and do other things sometimes, but mostly it's just initiatories. And then here's another tip for anybody. If you don't even have time. So I've gone and only done one name, and it's still just as powerful.
Yeah.
And so I want to put that out there for you sisters who are not sure if you have time, like just make that time. You can go just for like the one name, and it matters because it's one person that didn't have stuff done for them before you walked in.
Exactly. It's a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Powerful to that person.
Exactly.
And I love that you said that, because I work at the initiatory desk at
awesome.
Mountain Panogas. And if someone comes in and we're busy and they ask, is there room for me to do initiatories? Our response is, if you don't mind waiting, and if you're okay with doing one or two names.
Yeah.
So there is always room. I would encourage anybody who feels like, oh, I want to get to the temple, but I don't have an appointment, or I only have this much time. Just go.
Yeah.
And they will accommodate you, and you'll be able to perform something for someone, which matters because it's a person.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to know how you're doing now. How much time has elapsed? Or how's your husband doing? What does life look like for you guys right now?
So it's been about 5 years, and it's a lot more open now. I feel like, and I keep saying like my eyes have been opened, and it's so true. I see things differently now, and it feels like I'm in a different battle where I'm trying to navigate those whispers, but I know why I'm getting them, right? Because my husband had that problem. And so now those whispers are almost validated, because I think as women, we get the whispers from Satan that we're not enough, and that, you know, we're not good enough, and that our husbands are looking at other women. And already without the betrayal trauma, I'm pretty sure all women get that. But now it's almost like I can see that is the struggle that my husband has. It's almost like that scripture, you know, when he shows us our weaknesses, we can become strong. And so now I feel like we're a lot stronger, because I can communicate to my husband like, hey, you know what? If we do this, I'm going to get a lot of whispers like this. And I don't know if I'm quite ready to go there. Like, we couldn't originally go to like the beach, or we couldn't go to Splash Summit. It's, you know, with the kids, but I'm like, I want to take them. At first, I couldn't even go by myself, because I don't want to say anything about Utah, but Utah has like the most attractive women I've ever seen in my life. And I've lived in Florida. So I know. But yeah, so I couldn't even go by myself. I couldn't even handle going with the kids. So poor kids, you know, they couldn't go. And then finally I was like, okay, I think that's a battle that I'm able to fight, because it is a battle, right? And it's like, you have to arm yourself and prepare yourself for that kind of stuff. And so I was able to take my kids, and it was fine. Like, I could, you know, go and be fine. And it's a lot of mental work and spiritual work that you have to do in order to get to certain places that I didn't consider doing those before betrayal trauma. But now with that, now I'm like, oh, that's what I needed to do. You know, with the counseling that I've gotten, I'm like, oh, I just needed to do more mental and spiritual work, and like affirmations and those kinds of things, to be able to handle being in situations where I was going to be attacked more. And so like, that was something that I learned. And so I'm able to communicate that with my husband now. And in fact, we did go to a pool party together, and it was one of our ward members. They had like a pool party, and I was totally great. And it was so crazy. I was like, this is so much fun, coming together as a family, and I can be outside hide with you and with people who are not clothed. And it's so crazy to think that all you need to do was we just need our eyes opened to that kind of attack. Because once our eyes are opened, when we go to the temple, we know what we need to ask for. And the kind of strength that we can draw from the Savior is not just, hey, bless me today to be good, but I know that the Lord loves effort, but he also loves specificity. And so if we're not specific about the kind of help that we need, whatever help he sends, we're probably going to miss it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Well, with that, I love that you have gotten to this place of being able to encounter situations that were fraught with peril for you before.
Right? Yeah, it's like you're prepared.
Yeah, you can navigate those. I know that you also, as a mother, are thinking about this in terms of raising your children and teaching them how to battle Satan. How has your experience in your family with pornography impacted the way you're teaching and raising your children?
That's a great question. And a lot of people, when they have pornography in their family, like they don't want to talk about it. It's not something that people talk about. It's still kind of shied away from, and there's still a lot of shame that Satan brings upon us. And so we don't want to talk about it because we think nobody else is experiencing it. But that was something that my husband and I were like, okay, well, 5 years ago when this happened, we didn't do anything and we didn't tell anybody. The only thing we did was go to that class and we thought it was going to magically go away, but it didn't really help, And so we're like, what do we do now? And how can we do it differently? And there's a scripture that I love from Moroni, and he says that they were prepared for them in a manner which never had been known unto the children of God. And so we had to do something that never had been known to us, at least, right? In order to fight this battle. And something that we had never done was share it with anyone else. We didn't ever share it with our family. We didn't ever share it with our extended family. We didn't share it with anybody at all. And so that's why we created the Clark and Linda show, because we were like, we need to share this and it will help us fight. And so that is like our number one way that we like to fight. And Clark has been able to share it with the youth in our stake. And it's been a strength to know that it helps other people, not just our family.
Yeah.
To help them know that they're not by themselves, that they're not alone. And we actually shared it with our kids. And it's hard because if you don't have someone with an addiction that's willing to put themselves out there and is willing to be the one that takes the blame, they have to be really shame resilient, right? To be able to share, and they have to get vulnerable. And so I basically told Clark, I was like, I want you to share. This is your thing, but it's my story too. Like that's what they taught me in my worth, counseling and stuff. And they were like, it's your story. You need to share it. And I was like, okay, but I'm going to give my husband that opportunity to share first. And if he doesn't want to share, then I'm going to share kind of thing. Right. And so I told him that and kind of gave him like a little bit of a deadline, like this is when we need to do it. And so he shared with our boys, and it was so amazing to see how he was able to get vulnerable with them in that way. And, they were so little, he just basically, said it was like bad pictures and the bad pictures. And then he said that there's bad videos, but then also he went into describing how it made me feel and how that is going to affect their day to day because of how sad I was and how they needed to be kind and patient with mom as she's trying to heal herself too. Wow. And I thought that was really awesome of him to be able to like know that it was affecting me like this and be patient, and even instruct our boys to be patient as well, so that we would all work together as a family to kind of overcome this. So yeah, and we've talked about it. We bring it up a lot. And Clark will bring it up and he'll say, I can't get better without Jesus Christ. And we talk about battles, and anytime we watch a movie, we, as a family, will do like Friday movie night. I don't know if other families do that, but we like to talk about how it typifies of Christ and how they saw Satan in something, because it helps bring those things into reality for them, even though it is just a movie, but it helps them see because everything typifies of Christ, right? But it helps us see the battle in different ways So yeah, we talk about it a lot, and it's something that helps us and helps our family.
Yeah, the amount of courage that must have taken, especially that first time.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So thank you so much for talking about it.
Of course. Yeah, I know. It's so lonely, that spot when you first are going through all those emotions and it's so raw. And yeah, just know that you're not alone in that, because we all go through something hard, and the Savior's there for us to give us that extra strength that we need to get us out of that and to help us see, because that's what it's all about. He just wants us to see who we are. And then once we see who we are, then we can basically do anything.
Definitely. As you're talking, I'm thinking about President Nelson at conference just invited us to study section 109.
Yes.
And I love how it says in section 109.
That's a dedicatory prayer, right, to the Kirtland Temple?
Yeah. It says, "From this place they may bear exceedingly great and glorious tidings in truth unto the ends of the earth, that they may know that this is thy work, and that thou hast put forth thy hand to fulfill that which thou hast spoken by the mouths of the prophets concerning the last days." So as you're talking about your battle and being a warrior woman, I just think about that you're bearing exceedingly great and glorious tidings in truth. And that's so powerful to me. And in that same talk, President Nelson said, "We promise that no combination of wickedness will prevail over those who worship in the house of the Lord." And your life is a manifestation
I love
of that.
I love that you said that, because I brought that part of his talk too, and I have it highlighted.
Awesome.
That's great. So it's definitely inspired that we were all thinking about President Nelson's talk. But I love the way that he said this and the blessings that come from the temple. He says, "Nothing will help you more to hold fast to the iron rod than worshiping in the temple as regularly as your circumstances permit. Nothing will protect you more as you encounter the world's mists of darkness. Nothing will bolster your testimony of the Lord Jesus Christ and his atonement, or help you understand God's magnificent plan more. Nothing will soothe your spirit more during times of pain. Nothing will open the heavens more. Nothing." End quote. So that's it. That's what it's all about.
So thank you so much for all that you've shared and for your time. I wish we could
worries.
keep
I
talking.
know.
I'd love to
It's
visit
so
more.
much fun to chat and to talk about Jesus Christ is the best, right? Where 2 or 3 are gathered, that's where he will be.
It's powerful. Linda, how would you encourage someone to arise with Christ?
So I was thinking about that question because you sent it to me a little bit early, and it just makes me think about in my mornings, right? It's just like arise, right? When you arise, make that first thought be of the Savior and not of social media or anything else. Because if we can just give him just that part to know that our first thought in our mind when we wake up is him, then he will make everything else so much better for us. And I love the Book of Mormon, and I can't testify of it enough either. And so if you need something to help you arise and think of Christ, read the Book of Mormon. But I know with time constraints and everything, it just depends on what your schedule is that you need to read scriptures. So as long as you're just thinking and remembering him, that is what matters the most.
We are grateful that you joined us today. We would love to hear your stories about how you arise with Jesus Christ. You can find us on Instagram at arise.with.christ or email us at arisewithchrist.temples@gmail.com.